Vegan plant-based diets for multiple sclerosis. Do they actually work, and what's the best way to maximize your results? In this video, we'll be breaking down everything you need to know about vegan and plant-based diets for multiple sclerosis and how they stack up against other dietary strategies. We'll also go over common mistakes to avoid, food to focus on, and what to eliminate and how to effectively track your progress. So stick around. I'm Dr. Chanu Dasari, a surgeon dedicated to reducing inflammation caused by gut microbiome imbalances. I myself struggled with digestive dysfunction and autoimmune inflammation in my early 20s and successfully put together a methodology that worked not only in me, but also my patients. My method is called the mind-gut immunity approach, and it resulted in thousands of successes over the years. If you or someone you know struggles with multiple sclerosis and wants to rid yourself of inflammation for good, check out our website, mgiclinic.com, and schedule a discovery call with me, and I'll walk you through some practical steps for multiple sclerosis recovery and how to achieve lasting results in just 6 weeks. On the website, we also have multitudes of free resources on how you can eliminate multiple sclerosis naturally to help get you started. So check out the link in the description below and just get started. Also, before I forget, please like and subscribe to receive more content such as this. All right, let's jump in. Here's a 2022 report on 2 MS patients that discontinued disease-modifying therapies and adopted a whole food plant-based diet, experiencing minimum relapses and improved quality of life over 5 to 6 years. Here's another 2022 study that reviewed 15 clinical trials on 669 multiple sclerosis patients. It highlights the benefits of plant-based diets in reducing fatigue, relapse rates, and disability. Most neurologists will tell you that diet doesn't matter for multiple sclerosis. So how do we know what truly works? As I mentioned in another video called Ideal Diet for Multiple Sclerosis, I strongly recommend customized phytonutrient-based diet plans tailored to each individual. I use 4 key criteria to assess whether a diet will work for multiple sclerosis or not. And it doesn't mean that the diets need to be entirely vegan or plant-based. To recap, the 4 criteria are phytonutrients, macronutrient requirements, microbiome specificity, and food sensitivity. If you need a detailed explanation, check out the Ideal Diet for Multiple Sclerosis, but for now, we'll give you a quick summary about plant-based diets and how they stack up for multiple sclerosis. You may remember from my other video the concept of complex proteins. Certain complex proteins can trigger an immune response, worsening multiple sclerosis symptoms. We eat protein in our diets. It can come from a variety of sources, both plant and animal. A protein is basically a bunch of amino acids connected together. When the protein enters our digestive system, enzymes in our intestine break up these into individual components called amino acids, which then get absorbed. These intestinal enzymes are called proteases. And the reason this is relevant is sometimes the proteases don't get the job done, and we're left with large particles of protein that linger in our intestines and bloodstream for long periods of time. Why does this happen? Well, certain types of protein are hard to break down. Also, there may not be enough protease to break down the proteins. As you already know, the gut is just one big, giant immune organ. So these incompletely digested proteins register as a foreign threat and generate an immune response. Basically, the body thinks it's under attack by these large undigested proteins. So then it secretes a bunch of immune chemicals which cause inflammation, and that can be a problem. Next, you also have the arachidonic acid pathway, which is directly related to the consumption of animal-based cholesterol. All animal cells have a membrane wall that contains fats and cholesterol, which convert into arachidonic acid and cytokines in our bodies and generate inflammation. Do all animal-derived products contain arachidonic acid? No, just meat and fat-containing dairy products. This is why vegan diets sometimes benefit multiple sclerosis patients. They cut out all these inflammatory foods. However, vegan and plant-based diets also have their own challenges, which I'll cover later in this video. The vegan diet for multiple sclerosis focuses exclusively on plant-based foods and typically emphasizes higher fiber and carbohydrate intake compared to fats and proteins. While there are lacto or ovo-vegetarian options, we'll concentrate on plant-based diet as a whole in this discussion. Let's dive into the first criteria, phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are micronutrients derived from plant-based superfoods. These compounds are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties, which can benefit individuals with multiple sclerosis by reducing inflammation and supporting nervous system health. Here's a 2023 study on polyphenols and their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective effects in managing multiple sclerosis. Here's a 2024 study exploring the effects of natural compounds on immune regulation, oxidative stress suppression, and the protection and regeneration of myelin in multiple sclerosis. Phytonutrients fall into several key categories, including polyphenols, terpenes, thiocyanates, fiber, resistant starches, omega fats, and alkaloids. These micronutrients play an essential role in reducing MS inflammation throughout the body, starting with the gut. When adopting a vegan or plant-based diet for multiple sclerosis, it's possible to consume plenty of phytonutrients, but only if you're careful about your food choices. For example, if your diet consists of processed flour, sugar, or fake meats and cheeses, these may lack phytonutrients and instead contain additives that exacerbate gut microbiome inflammation. So this approach will be counterproductive, but on the other hand, a balanced plant-based diet that incorporates resistant starches, fiber, omega oils, and a variety of herbs and whole foods can provide the phytonutrients needed to heal multiple sclerosis. Next, let's talk about macronutrient requirements. The vegan and plant-based diets for multiple sclerosis often fall short when it comes to addressing macronutrient needs. Macronutrients include carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. I have a calculator on my website. You can enter in your height, your weight, and activity level to determine your macronutrient requirements. If you're following a vegan diet, you'll need to adjust these values by increasing the fat and the protein intake while reducing carbohydrates. In general, a diet that gets half of its calories from fat is probably a good thing, but you don't want to get them from saturated fat and meats or even plant-based foods because, as I said earlier, these are associated with inflammatory processes. You also want to avoid animal-based cholesterol in meat, which can increase arachidonic acid levels. I describe both of these pathways of multiple sclerosis inflammation in other videos on my channel, so if you need a refresher, feel free to check out those videos. When I design diets for my clients, they are generally lower in carb for obvious reasons. And most of the fats come from omega plant-based sources, and I also ensure at least 100 grams of protein are in the diet, which can be challenging if you're relying solely on plant-based foods. You'll need to incorporate protein shakes made from plant-based protein sources, most likely. Another challenge with vegan diets for multiple sclerosis is their tendency to overlook the proper balance of carbs, fats, and proteins, and they often neglect fiber tracking, which can hinder efforts to optimize gut microbiome health. Next, let's look at microbiome specificity. Let's revisit this equation. Bad bacteria and fungi feed on carbs, leading to inflammation. Vegan diets are generally higher in carbs, and some of these carbs are less beneficial. So do vegan diets promote healthier bacteria? The answer is a clear no. And I know this might sound controversial because many people on YouTube claim that the gut microbiome diversity improves on vegan diets. Even Reddit users seem to support this idea. But let me provide a practical perspective. I've reviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of stool studies over my career, and most of the time, people following vegan diets for multiple sclerosis do not appropriately select for their good bacteria in their intestines through their diets. The very nature of multiple sclerosis involves inflammation driven by a dysfunctional gut microbiome. So, in the start of our program, we use patented probiotics from Japan to recalibrate the gut microbiome and eliminate harmful bacteria, but then we use advanced strategies to promote the growth of good bacteria. And it's not avoiding carbs, it's by selecting the right ratios and quantities of phytonutrients. And this is where the Microbiome method truly excels. We design diets that encourage the growth of specific strains of beneficial bacteria, which form a protective biofilm and push out harmful bacteria and fungi. Over several weeks, the body begins to produce fewer pro-inflammatory markers like TNF-alpha and interleukin-6, thanks to these beneficial bacteria. The main issue with the vegan diets for multiple sclerosis is that if you doesn't address the root causes, you end up feeding bad bacteria non-selectively because there's no emphasis on resistant starch or fiber. Also, you have plant-based sugars, carbs, and chemicals which can exacerbate inflammation in multiple sclerosis if you're following a vegan and plant-based diet. I have seen some people get temporary relief with a vegan diet, but they don't resolve the gut microbiome issue. And that's where the Phyto-diet comes in. It addresses the root cause issue, which is the microbiome balance that's causing inflammation seen in multiple sclerosis. This allows for long-term dietary flexibility, including cheat meals, without adverse effects. And in fact, in month 2 or month 3 of the program, my clients, they learn how to cheat on the program because by then all of the gut issues have been resolved in a very sustainable way. All right, let's address the final criteria, food sensitivities. Food sensitivities are a critical topic when managing multiple sclerosis. In my talks, I discuss the 4 main types of food sensitivity tests available for multiple sclerosis. They include the skin prick test, IgE blood test, IgG4 blood test, and the newer mediator release test. If you need a refresher on these tests, be sure to watch my video that explores food sensitivity testing for multiple sclerosis. When it comes to the vegan diet, several plant-based foods can trigger sensitivities. Common offenders include sugars, sugar alcohols, dyes, chemicals, even whole food proteins like beans, lentils, and peas. I've seen all of these appear on food sensitivity tests over the years, which means there's a high chance of reacting to one or more vegan or plant-based foods, and that's why following a vegan or plant-based diet for multiple sclerosis, it can be risky. It limits your food choices and increases the risk of developing additional sensitivities. All right, that's my talk. In the comments below, share with me your experience with multiple sclerosis and possibly even with vegan diets and what's worked for you and what didn't. I would love to hear about your journey. As you know, I've had a great success using the mind-gut immunity method in my clients, and I strongly advocate for customized phyto diets and focused gut microbiome recalibration to achieve lasting results. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content such as this. As always, I'm Dr. Chanu Dasari with the Mind-Gut Immunity Clinic, and I'll see you next time.